also to another matter that is very controversial, the GRA SML contract. The opposition NDC, they've been addressing a news conference demanding the immediate termination of all contracts between the Ghana Revenue Authority and Strategic Mobilization Limited, SML, describing the deal as illegal. They have also demanded that full publication of the KPMG report. They want that the next NDC government will not recognize the deal. This is into excess of a news conference that ended some few minutes ago.
Those agreements, because this is a country governed by the rule of law, and agreements signed in contravention of the laws of this country cannot stand the test of law in this country, and therefore any payments made under these illegal agreements must be retrieved. Our courts have had the opportunity times without number to pronounce on this. This is the same reason why the courts asked for the state to retrieve monies paid to Oyome, Waterville, Isofoton, and so on, because they were paid under unlawful agreements. Number 3, the NDC demands the immediate publication of the full KPMG investigative reports on the dealings between SML and the GRA. Mr. President, why are you hiding that report? That report was conducted by KPMG, put together by KPMG after their investigations, at the expense of the Ghanaian taxpayer. KPMG did not do that work for free. They were paid for that work, and they were paid with our monies. So why are you keeping that report like a CIA confidential report in your drawer at your office? What do you have to hide? What are you trying to conceal? Publish that report now. You who once bragged about being an anti-corruption crusader, we want you to live up to that. Publish that report. We want to know what is in the report. Ladies and gentlemen, the NDC also demands the immediate arrest and prosecution of all persons involved in the award of these illegal contracts and the payment of these illegal fees to SML. We wish to reiterate the position of our flag bearer and leader, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, that the next NDC government will not recognize the illegal contracts entered between SML and the Kufuor government upon assumption into office on the 7th of January 2025. When elected into office, we shall launch credible and transparent investigations into the stinking SML scandal with the aim of retrieving for the state all illegal payments made to SML and ensuring the prosecution of all persons who are complicit in these illegal transactions. You see, while in opposition, sole sourcing was tantamount to corruption, according to the MPP. Procurement breaches were considered an abomination by the MPP. Indeed, since assuming office in 2017, the Kufuor-Bawumia MPP government has prosecuted several persons for alleged procurement breaches and other statutory breaches. Some of these people are languishing in jail today. In fact, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Charlotte Osei, was removed from office, if you would recall, on grounds of alleged procurement breaches. Ladies and gentlemen, the standard of accountability cannot and will not be any different for members of the ruling New Patriotic Party who are responsible for the sleazy SML deal and other corruption scandals. The NDC is committed to promoting transparency, accountability, and value for money in all government procurements. As our running mate for the 2024 elections, the Venerable Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman indicated in her erudite and inspiring speech last Wednesday, anyone who has participated in the plunder of the state will be held accountable. Quote, "This is not a threat, it is a promise, premised on the wishes of our citizens across various political and social divides, and hinged on the principle of accountability, unquote. Thank you very much for your attention, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to...
This is a pause here on Joy News. So that's the communication officer with the National Democratic Congress adding their voice to this controversial issue already in the public domain. Now, so what is the reaction of SML regarding the developments on this contract they have with the Ghana Revenue Authority? Yasa Wasapon, the Director Support Services with SML, and she joins us via Zoom. Good afternoon, Madam Sapon, for your time here on the pause.
Afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Right, so going through the NDC news conference, I mean, the takeaway, they say they are asking for the immediate termination of all the illegal, what they describe as illegal contract entered into between SML and GRA, and also the retrieval of all monies payment made by government to SML under what they describe as illegal agreement, which have occasioned a huge financial loss to the state. Some civil society organizations believe that the additional revenue which KPMG indicated should be attributed to SML was due to increase in consumption owing to improvement in economic conditions and not because you had any role to play. Perhaps I can get your initial response with these issues before we get to the other matters of how much you've been paid and why you deserve such payment.
Right, thank you very much. I think on last Saturday, when I came to Newsfile, I made a statement that I think is not very clear. Now, we are talking about loading and tax in the downstream petroleum. When we consume the product, that is when we load the product, it doesn't mean that we declare for tax to be collected. So when NPA loads the product, and the data that NPA gets in the ELDMS is not transmitted to the GRA system, which is ICOM system now, then that means that there is revenue leakage, there is revenue loss. That is what SML has come to plug in so that the money that is going through illegal places will be brought back into the government coffers. So this afternoon, I'm just going to show a comparative data analysis graph that will show to Ghanaians exactly what we are talking about. We are not talking about lifting data. The lifting data is the NPA's data, which is the traded data in the ELDMS. That is not what we are talking about. The need for GRA is to close the gap between the lifting data and then the taxable volume. They are two different volumes. And NPA do not concern itself, GRA do not concern itself with the loading because we can load. But when we load and consume and we don't pay the tax, government loses revenue. So there is a data gap comparative analysis that I have done before SML came into the downstream petroleum to support GRA to plug in the data, the revenue leakage. And then after SML came. So if you look at January 2019, we just made 16 months comparison. January 2019, NPA traded volumes, which is the volumes that were loaded for consumption, recorded 417 million liters. If you look at the GRA system or the petroleum holding account, what went for tax was 237 million liters. So if you do the difference between these figures, you have about 179 million liters. We have some points to it, but because of time, I cannot do all the rest of the numbers. So I will just stay with the initial three figures.
Right.
Now, if you look at the February 19, I don't know whether you can project this for me. The data gap between lifting volumes and taxable volumes is what I'm talking about. Before SML, we started our operation in May, we piloted in May 2020. So we looked at January 2019 to April 2020, the next month before we did our piloting. If you look at the 16 months, just within the 16 months, what happened was that the lifting volumes, which is the consumption volumes that these CSOs and people don't understand, this lifting volume, the loaded volume that was consumed, was 6,387,335,043 liters. Now, if you look at the tax system, what came to government for tax is 3,180,526,259 liters. The difference between this, which when you apply the tax to it, will generate into revenue. The difference between this is 3,206,808,783 liters. When you convert this, let's say you multiply this with the tax, average tax of 1.44. The money that this amounts to is 4.6 billion Ghana cedis. We are not talking about old Ghana cedis.
And this is what, this claim is that this is why you have saved the nation?
This is just under 16 months.
Right.
Within 16 months, this is the amount of money government is losing. Before SML, this is the amount of money government is losing. And that is why last Saturday I said that the issue of revenue loss in the downstream petroleum was swiftly becoming a national security issue. When we load the products and we don't pay taxes on them, that is revenue loss. That has got nothing to do with NPA deploying meters at fuel stations. That has got nothing to do with fuel marking or fuel tracking. We are not doing that for GRA. What we are doing is that we are providing audit and assurance for GRA. We have put in place meters, digitization systems. We are doing real-time monitoring so that GRA can be able to see or monitor the activities of the OMCs in real time. These are the things that we are doing. And as a result of that, I will walk you through the post-SML, how the data is looking now.
Briefly for me, yeah.
What after April 20, when we started piloting, May 2020, the NPA traded volume, which is the liftings volume or the consumed volume, was 406,379,657 liters. Now, because when we piloted, because we were there, we had put in place some controls. May 2020, the taxable volume, which is the tax volume that government got, was 397,846,713 liters. So now the gap is closing. If you come to June 2020, when we went live, the lifting volume was 450,505,170 liters. Now, if you come to the tax system, so the taxable volume now is 414,597,900 liters. If you go through the data one by one, you will see that SML, because of the controls we have put in place, now the lifting volumes and then the taxable volumes, they are aligning. That means that the gap between these volumes, that was the leakage, has been closed. So before SML, under the 16 months period, we had lifting volumes that was 6.3 billion liters. We had taxable volumes that was 3.1 billion liters instead of being 6.3 or around that area. That was not the case. But now, if you look at the volumes between these two systems, which is the lifting volumes, which is the NPA traded volume, and then the tax volume, you will see that from May 2020 to August 2021, the same 16 months, you have the total of the lifting volumes at 7,404,385,392 liters. When you check the taxable volume, you will see that the tax is now 143,491,507 liters. That means that.
Yes, if I can come in briefly on this, on the figures and what you are claiming that you've managed to close the gap in terms of the leakages and what persists right now. The KPMG report, points to the fact that you partially delivered, and that in terms of revenue accrued to the state, around 2-point-something billion Ghana cedis, and that you were paid over 1 billion Ghana cedis. Some see this too good to be true, if you like. How do you justify this? You made 2.4 and you took 1 billion. That's like what, 50% of how much you brought the state.
Right. So this, you see, the press statement that we released, we said we do not agree to this. We disagree to this because, first of all, the money that KPMG is saying, we don't agree. And it is because KPMG is using this same lifting or consumption data to assess what we have done, to assess our performance. And we are saying that we didn't come to improve lifting data. That is not the work we came to do. That is why Saturday I said on Newsfile that we don't work with NPA. Yes, NPA are regulators. We work through GRA, they are regulators. So even if you want to go to the depot, whatever you want to do in downstream, you have to go through them. That is the relationship we have with them. Apart from that, the NPA did not employ us. We work for GRA, and what we do for GRA is that we are working to close the gap that has existed and has been an issue between these two institutions. That the product will be loaded, but they will not be accounted for tax. And GRA is supposed to generate income for the country. So it was a huge burden. And at the time when GRA SML came in, this was becoming a national security issue, and we need to pay attention to this.
So you are denying that you've been paid over 1 billion cedis?
Right. The amount that KPMG is saying that we have generated to the
state.
The state. This is what we have in response to that. We are not working with liftings volumes. We are working with taxable volumes. So if I have worked on taxable volumes and I have closed the gap between what was before and what now I am doing, what you need to do is that you need to assess me based on the work I have done. You don't go and use NPA's data to assess my performance, because SML does not work to improve NPA's data, which is the lifting or consumption data. What we have done is to bridge the gap between the consumption data and the taxable data. And if you go along that, there is a benchmark that when SML came, GRA set for us. If you go to the Bank of Ghana Petroleum Holding account, that benchmark brings the performance of SML to over 14 billion Ghana cedis. And that is what we stand by.
And this is between what period?
The reference, sorry.
This is between what period?
So May to December 2023.
All right. And
let me. So May 2020. You see, we are talking about this 14 billion we are talking about is not just within a year. We have been in operation since May 2020 till December 2023. So the yearly accruement of this, of our revenue, the gains, the excess gains of the volumes, and then the revenue that it generates to every year. I want to read a little or show you a little bit so that your listeners can be clear, or they can understand what we are trying to say. What we are saying is that if you go to the Bank of Ghana revenue, petroleum revenue holding account for SML, in May to December 2020, the volume gains over a BOG comes to 1.7 billion plus other things. Because of time, I will not be able to mention that. And this 1.7 billion liters translates into revenue gains of 2.5 billion. 2021, the volume gains was 2.7 billion liters. And this multiplied by the tax components bring you to 3.9 billion Ghana cedis. If you come to 2022, we did the volume gains was 2.6 billion plus. If you look at the revenue gains, it's 3.8 billion plus. And 2023, from January to December, of course, the volume gains was 3.1 billion liters. And then the money it translates into is 4.5 billion Ghana cedis. If you calculate all of this, the yearly accumulation of this, which is the 3 and 8 months that we have been in operation as at December 2023, is 14.8 billion. Let me take it again. The extra or the excess gain revenue that we have added to the downstream petroleum tax revenue is 14 billion 844 million 293,095 Ghana cedis.
And how much have you been paid as a result of this?
So the money that they are saying that KPMG brought here, which is the let me look at it and quote it properly so I don't get quoted out of context. The 1 billion Ghana cedi compensation, as quoted by KPMG. So if you look at what we have done and the compensation that KPMG says we have taken, if we have done 14.8 billion. We have been compensated for 1 billion plus the rest of it.
1 billion.
And that quote, the compensation that they have given, they have not included the tax that is being taken from us at source.
Right. Let me, because of time.
Which is 32%. And then the interest, the bank interest that we have to pay, which is also, no, the tax is 31.5%. And then the bank interest also, 32% has not been taken. Everyone who knows how this petroleum industry works, the cost involved, because we are using a test certified products.
Right.
We are bringing in experts.
Just a brief question, so because of time, I can let you go. There are key issues that I want you to address. First is about the fact that you may be operating illegally, because according to the NDC and some civil society organizations, PPA you have yet to fully satisfy the dictates of the PPA in getting you the green light to operate. There's no issue about your experience in this area and the allegation of possible insider trading, because one of your directors, Mr. Soti, worked with the GRA, resigned, and then this company came up, and all of a sudden GRA becomes the sole client of this company. In brief, how do you respond to these issues?
They are all inaccurate. And what I want to tell Ghana is that we have been in operation since 2020. This issue since 2020 May, but that is for the downstream. We are talking about the downstream, so I will stay with the downstream. Now, this issue of expose and everything happens the minute we sign a contract to go to the upstream. What we have uncovered in the downstream is that, just as I showed you, within 16 months, 4.6 billion Ghana cedi was going into illegal pockets. And SML has worked so hard to close this gap and gain this revenue under 4 years, 14.8 billion to the revenue, the tax revenue for government. So what this means is that SML is putting in control measures to improve compliance for tax revenue. And those who have been benefiting from these illegal activities, they are stakeholders risk to us. They have taken entrenched position, brought in people who can talk and do all sort of propaganda so that SML will be taken out and the downstream will go back to business as usual.
I asked about your experience and so-called and the allegation of insider trading involving one of your directors.
All of those things are not, you see, they are not true. They are not true. They are not true. If they are able to provide the evidence, you see, from December 2023, when they did the so-called expose, none of these people who are promoting this propaganda has been able to produce any data to support what they are saying. They don't have any documentation to support what they are saying. Everything they are saying is that, oh, there is a timber company. Oh, there is Mr. Soti said this, Mr. Soti said that. We have presented data. The data that I presented today, the liftings data, you can find it from the NPA BDC's performance report. You can find the other one, the tax revenue, in the Bank of Ghana when the ICOMS was not there. And then when the ICOM came after the May 2020, you can find this data I've presented today in the ICOMS.
Right.
We have proven ourselves. Everything that we needed to give to KPMG, we gave to them. Let these people who are pushing this propaganda come out with their data to support it. If the CSOs, the Bryce Simons and all these people, if they come with liftings data, the point we want to make to them is that what we want to set the record straight is that we are not working for MPA. Right. We are not working to improve lifting or consumption data. So they should take that data down and go and bring the taxable data and let us compare and have a meaningful discussion about this. I
guess this matter is developing, and in the days to follow, we'll have more time to digest into this issue. Thank you very much. Madam Sewa Sapon is in charge of support services with the SML. This is the Pulse here on Joy News.